Hello everybody and welcome to another making of the thumbnail. This one was for Delibird. This operation took about an hour and 10 minutes to make. A lot of it was listening back to the audio itself for Delibird because in that sack down there I put a lot of fun toys that get censored, but I kinda wanted it to actually mirror the episode, even though you don't really get to see it, but I feel it's a nice touch for myself. So starting with the front layer, as usual, almost always starting with the eyes and face. With the eyes, I've kind of been getting keen on adding the little details from other Pokemon, especially if I can give the effect of eyeliner. I really love those eyes with the eyeliner effect, and Delibird has, like, huge cartoony rings around their eyes, so I didn't go too thick with the eyeliner, but went fairly well. And we're moving on to the beak. The beak I had kind of like open and drooling because in the episode my Delibird talks a lot, describing a lot of the toys. No sexual act really happens. The erotic part of it is all the toys that they're describing that they're dropping off. All of them inspired by Pokemon. So yeah, there I pull up another color reference for the mouth so I can get the right colors. I've noticed a lot of Pokemon basically have the same mouth colors, the same inner mouth and tongue colors. Grand majority, like 90% of them all have the same colors. And yeah, adding some drool because they're very excited and they just talk. So with the drool, I'm still learning, and so I'm experimenting a bit here. My favorite technique with it is doing a mostly translucent line and then erasing a bit in the middle and then adding the shine to it. Although I make the mistake here at the start of making it white, which if you see the reference for the Delibird there or just guess in general, white on white does not show well, which I find out later down in the process. So now we're moving on to the hair, feather, face part. I don't even... Pokemon anatomy is weird, man. I'm using the line tool, kind of experimenting with how much I can contort out of it, because you can get fairly good angles, so I start experimenting with how many angles can I get out of it. And I also do recognize that I removed the lower forks of the beard. I saw that during the process, but I honestly don't mind it looking a bit smoother at the bottom there. Because again, the whole idea is it's a Ditto doing it, so I have a lot of creative liberties I can take with it. Also, in general, I feel like with fan art, you can do a lot of creative liberties. But yeah, sticking with white for the beard, because it's, you know, it's a Santa bird. You gotta have that white beard. Yeah, right there you see my drool mark just absolutely go away. Blocking out the major part of it, and then going back in with a finer brush size for all the nooks and crannies. Doesn't really matter which one, if I start with the bigger one or the smaller one first. It's just more so a matter of which one is my brush already closest to. Yeah, I definitely wanted them drooling a bit because they are super excited in the episode and they just talk and talk and talk and talk, so I imagine just... And I do believe I make, like, little noises here and there, so drool just felt very appropriate. But with the beak, it would definitely be all funneled to the tip, I feel like. So yeah, glancing over things. For my references, I have the first episode thumbnail so I can keep color consistency for the pink Ditto parts. Mixing up my layers there for a second. Accidentally used a square there for a second. I stumble here and there, but because I'm moving faster than my brain can really keep up with. Or more so, my brain's moving faster than my hands can keep up with, even talking. But that body gets my signature Ditto pinkness. Because every thumbnail I do, it's the majority part of the body gets the Ditto pink, and it gets my signature OC eyes. Also, I personally think it's really adorable as a pink one. I can't quite remember what the shiny color is for Delibird. If it's a pink or a purple, but I personally really like it as this pink. I think it's really cute. So yeah, going back in to fix the drool, since white didn't work, I found blue is also good, kind of liquidy color, doing the translucent coloring, then erasing the midsection to give it the liquidy look. I wanted to add even more so you can see it a bit more at a distance. And then getting that drip, get that drip, giving it a bit of a back coloring so that, because I basically searched for the original drip that I had there by doing the back coloring on a different layer, and now I'm adding the blue, adding those nice watery shine to make it glisten. Now I'm shaving that lower drip down so that it looks more actually like a drip rather than just a gem in the beard or something like that. And then, of course, since we're drooling, the tongue would be shiny, so I experiment with the shine a bit here, basically trying to determine what shape a Delibird tongue would be. To which I decided it would be more kind of flat, highlighting the height of it because of that tongue ridge. But otherwise, since I picture it as a small little wedge of flesh. And now we're moving on to the sack. Wonderful sack of gifts. Starting with the open edge, making a thick lip. Because it doesn't really have a drawstring, but is still giving it that thick fabric lip. Then erasing it, but I didn't want to erase all of that edge, because it wouldn't be a hard edge because it's not a pot, but I feel like it would still have that thick hem edge to it. So I kept the faint hints of the outline, and then I made the sack a slightly grayer color, so it's like an aged fabric. So it's not pure clean white anymore. Yeah, you see that remaining edge gives it a nice curl look to the fabric. Doing my best to label my layers, which I'm not always best with. Yeah, so selecting that area using our favorite tool, the gradient, for some quick shadow cheats to make the depth of the inside of the bag. Then I went back, since the gradient tool, unfortunately, in my select tool with paint.net, makes a kind of pixelated edge. Even if I select it from a line I already made, the pixelated edges become a bit more harsh, so I went back in there with the white to just clean it up and blend it a bit. So now I start doodling the toys. I don't go super detailed because, again, I'm going to be just pixelating the hell out of it to give that impression of, ooh, lewd things in here, because it is kind of lewd. So I won't tell you what the toy is, but I can tell you what the Pokemon inspiration is. If you want to know what the toy is, you'll have to listen to the episode. So that one is Badoo. And I am actually like going back and listening to the episode because Delibird does a fast, quick list of toys. So this one is Litwick. This is also an homage to how DDD originally was conceptualized, because originally I was doing drawings. They were going to be adult scenes, and it was going to be like a magazine type of thing, or a lewd magazine. This one is Pinsir. Pinsir is tricky because it's a white horn and I'm putting it in a white bag, so I just gave it a hard, dark outline to hopefully get that point. So it was originally supposed to be a series of drawings. I had the OCs. Ditto is the OC that lived. I also had two other OCs that were going to be part of the team. One of them was going to be like the seamstress and builder, and then the other one was the lead of photography. But I got a little wrapped up in the details about it, and I kind of overwhelmed myself with how big I wanted the project to get, so I fell away from that. That was gosh, I think back in 2016 or so. But then, obviously, I couldn't stay away from the concept because here we are. I've debated reviving that, but until then, I'm gonna stick with this because, again, the main point is supposed to be the voice work. So that one is inspired by Sandaconda, and I think that's the one I am the most amused by. Because the shape just naturally gives to the toy that it inspired. This is also a nice little way for me to round up some Pokemon that I just don't know what to do with. We got Krabby in there. Where it's like, I can't think of really how to personify them quite yet, or if ever. So they become a Christmas toy roundup instead. So this next one is a big bird. Gonna leave some pauses for the guesses. It is Firo. Yeah, it was funny when I was drawing these up. There were way more than I remembered because I just listed them all out. And then this one is inspired by the burial. Trying to get those happy little lines right. It's really funny when I was doodling these. It's like, yeah, it's just going to be a quick, dirty doodle. It should be like really easy and not take up much time. And it took almost a quarter good chunk of the time of this whole drawing because I just got so absorbed in details. It's a perfect example of how it works. It's like, I have this simple idea. I'm going to keep it simple. It'll be great. But then I get swept away in the process and it's like, oh dear, it's complicated now. So that one was Tentacruel. I'm listening to the audio. And then this one is, oh gosh, how do you pronounce it? Tempold? I think Timpold? The music tempo tadpole. Then we got Little Weedle. I had to put some quick back shadow so it didn't disappear behind the Firo. Because also what I'm doing off to the side as I'm listening is I'm pulling up quick references for the Pokemon and just kind of eyeballing the colors. Some of it's from memory, some of it, like Sandaconda, I had to look it up real quick. So that little blob there was Chansey. And I flipped over to that image, to the one reference image, because I needed to make something inspired by Licky Licky. And again, I've been noticing a grand majority of the Pokemon have very similar mouth color palettes. So I just stole the Delibird color and just made a little pinker. And this one is Diglett. I'm also happy that I'm able to compose on the fly, because as you might have noticed back in the sketch part of this, I didn't have any of it drawn out. I didn't even really know that I was going to do all of these toys, so the fact that I can do this on the fly, I'm fairly proud of. This is Rapidash. Again, if you want to know what the toys are or how the hecky they're inspired, you'll have to listen to the episode. And now the simple pixelated effect to Ludify. Make the toys layer. And now we're in the background working on the simple holly, which the whole process is mainly making a main one and then copying it and mirroring it. Because I just make it, copy it, paste it on a new layer, and then I have the option to flip mirror the layer instead of the whole thing, which I find a very nice process. Yeah, is this the earliest Christmas creep you've ever had in the year? Because I've already been seeing Halloween stuff in the stores, and I am currently recording / making this in July. So, I mean, hey, it's Christmas in July. That's a thing, right? But Delibird will, I think, absolutely be my regular Christmas episode. There may be other Christmas-themed Pokemon throughout the month, because there's multiple weeks leading up to Christmas. I've even debated having a 12 days of Lewd Christmas, but I think Delibird is definitely going to be at the end of it all, because not only did they get a positive response, but they were just really fun to do. And again, I get a chance to nod towards the Pokemon that I haven't worked with yet or don't know how to work with. Yeah, doing the little shine on the holly. And then doing a copy and a paste flip. And now we move on to the ribbon in the background. Yeah, getting the layers together. I have a lot of fun patterns I can work with in Paint.net, so I decided to go with the kind of plaid, because at least when I was growing up, it was a pretty common fabric pattern for Christmassy things. I actually have a square of fabric like this, and I have this little stitched gingerbread house that it sits on. So I thought it would be very appropriate and kind of cute for this thumbnail. And then just sculpting the little classic bow tie split tail at the ends. And then giving it a nice, more solid outline so it doesn't have the magic eye effect where your eye just blurs it like crazy. Shape. Then we go to the background, once again taking colors from the original Pokemon. Of course, Delibird is already naturally the Christmassy yellow and red. I went with the gradient with the line to kind of have the nod to candy canes. And then I decided to mess around with the back a bit more to give it a kind of like snowy, sparkly effect. You know, because winter and Christmas, and I want it to be a little more dynamic. Yeah, so I did the shattering and then the frosted glass, I believe, are the two effects that I'm using mostly. And there we are. So then next, for my last touches, I start the shine effects. Yep, there we go. Wanted to make them super shiny, because they're already naturally a pretty smooth Pokemon. And with my current light source, they would be so shiny. They're already so smooth and round. It's like, how could you not be shiny? Then stealing the DDD. And putting the episode number on. Looking for a text that is very Christmassy to me. Kind of reads Christmassy to me. Figuring out which layer to put it on. Also, again, ripping the colors from the original Pokemon, which just happen to be basic red and white. Making sure you could read it from a distance. And here's a quick glance at how I make the thumbnails for the making of the thumbnails video. So the only thing I didn't record is I did go back in and really quickly added some blush overwhelmed lines, but that was just fairly translucent pinkish red, and then just line, overlapping little nugget lines, so nothing too hard there. And yeah, that's Delibird, who will very likely make a return. And I hope I will see you guys for the next one. And again, tune in on and see Succubay Lyre on Subscribestar, or eventually on Fur Affinity or this very channel to hear what all those toys were. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.